I tried, brethren, to keep you up to snuff on the big headlines of the day. For some reason, didn't occur to me to talk to you about this big deal with Brexit until one of the brethren wrote to me and asked me what I thought about it. So I guess I've just been so involved in writing our latest book and getting our latest book ready for publication that it got past me. So this message is about, it's going to start off as my attempt to educate you on this issue. I am no political expert, but I do know something, and I think that I know more than some of you. So I will do my best to educate you. And we'll see, this message may turn into something else. We'll see. So what is Brexit? Brexit is the name for what happened on June 23rd when Great Britain held a referendum, which means all of the people in Great Britain, which is England, Scotland, and Wales, had an opportunity to vote on whether or not they wanted Great Britain to remain with the European Union. So it's Britain exit. And the referendum was brought to existence, that a referendum actually came into existence, was the result of the efforts of I think a political party. I'm no expert on American politics. I'm even less of an expert on British politics. I think it was a party, a fringe party, what they would call a fringe party. Now, there are two major parties in Britain, Labour and, I'm sorry, whatever the other one is. And the head of this party is a man named Farage, or at least the head of the movement to get Britain to exit the European Union. Now, why is the whole world in an uproar over this? Why is this affecting the whole world? I found out that most Americans, including myself, really understand, or at least I have some education right now, have been grossly uneducated as to why the current situations exist in America, why so many people have lost their jobs, why the economy is going down, why? We've been betrayed, brethren. We've been betrayed by the people who are supposed to be educating us, which largely are, for the public, not even the public institution, but the newspapers are supposed to be educating us. So the media, the media has utterly, in my opinion, corrupted. They're corrupt, and they're sold out to special interests. Well, maybe you heard that term, special interest. What does that mean? The simplest way I can explain it to you is that the people that head up not only international, they now call them multinational corporations. They're corporations that are spread over the world, and they're making billions and billions of dollars. They provide our fuel, such as Shell Oil, as a multinational corporation. I think there are 6 multinational corporations. I cannot even name them for you. But they provide, they do the advertising, they provide goods. They're trying to take over the food production of the world. So we have 6 multinational corporations that are trying to, in every way they can, to make all of the nations and the peoples of the world so dependent upon them that we literally become their slaves. And they're doing it through economic pressure rather than through military conquest. And these multinational corporations are what are called special interests. They have their representatives in Washington and all over the world, but all over this country, corrupting politicians, bribing politicians and judges and people that have the authority to affect the general population through the passage of laws and economic regulations. So, quite a few years ago, a trade agreement, it's all about trade, see? countries trading with each other. So an agreement was signed, or I think they called it a treaty, okay, between America and a group of other nations. And the acronym for that agreement is NAFTA. And I have not spent hours getting my details ready for you. You're just going to have to take it as I can give it to you, because I don't have the time to get together all of these details. If you want more information, you have to go into a search engine and type in NAFTA and find out what it actually stands for. Okay. It's a North American, some kind of North American treaty that was made between America and other nations, that there would be free trade. Free trade, that's the word, free trade, meaning if China, for example, wants to bring goods into this country to sell them here, the trade will be free. We will not charge you any tax or any tariff. You can just send your goods in here and sell them. That's what the traditional meaning of free trade is. But that's what it means. So President Bill Clinton, signed this agreement called NAFTA. And when you have dishonest people, nothing is as it seems to be on the surface. Free trade sounds wonderful. You don't charge me for sending my goods here, and I don't charge you for sending, I don't charge you for sending your goods here, and you don't charge me for sending my goods in your country, okay? But it's not as simple as that. And I am in no position to give you the economic details of how this works, other than what I'm hearing from Donald Trump, who has educated me even more than my own small degree. Brethren, the Lord has just educated me on this to the degree that I'm sharing it with you. Okay, I was just as guilty as the rest of you, as to not even seeking God as to what's going on. Why are we $20 trillion in debt? I thought it was because, well, we're giving welfare to all of these people, but it's much more than that. People that don't want to work, not people that can't work. Welfare is for people who cannot work. Okay, but it's way beyond that, and it all seems to come down to these trade agreements. And as I understand it today, through Mr. Trump, the issue is currency manipulation. See? And I'm limited as to how I can explain this to you. But I tell you, you can sell your goods in this country at no charge. And then when I go to sell my goods in your country, you manipulate your country, you manipulate your currency, which means it goes something like this. Right now, and I'm making this up, so it's probably wrong. Right now, $1 of American money is worth 50, what's the name of the Chinese currency? Yen? Yen, okay. 50 yen to $1 American dollar, okay. So I price my product and I send it to your country, and then China says, well, no, we're going to change it. It's not going to be any longer that. There's 50 yen equals $1, okay. And maybe now it's going to be 75 yen equal $1. I can't explain it to you any better than that, but that's what currency manipulation is. So they're getting around the deal, they're cheating. They're saying it's supposed to be, I sell to you and you sell to me, no restrictions, okay? But then they manipulate their currency, which does what? Which makes it virtually impossible for American manufacturers to sell their goods in China. And I'm just using China to say it's all countries. Because what I used to buy with $1, I used to be able to buy 3 bushels of 3 chickens with $1. And then the currency, the value of the currency changes, and now I can only buy 1 chicken with $1. So I can no longer buy American products. I can no longer buy a big screen TV for $5, okay? I now need $15 to buy that big screen TV. That's what money manipulation is about. That's the best I can do. Are you all okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's something like that. So it turns out that the other parties to this agreement called NAFTA have been using it's dishonesty, tricks, money manipulation currency manipulation, and however else they're getting around the rules to make it virtually impossible for American manufacturers to sell their products overseas. So the question is it still fair trade that you can sell your goods here without any governmental taxes, and I can sell my goods to your country and you will not impose any governmental taxes on us, but you manipulate your currency so that the people in your country, if they want to buy a TV, a big screen TV, it costs them $1 to buy the same TV in their country that their country makes, as it would cost them to buy, it would cost them $3 to buy the same TV in their country, made in America. A TV made in America, selling in China will cost you $3. The same TV made in China will cost you $1. So why should you buy American products? This is the deal. It has become impossible for America, or next to impossible, for American manufacturers to sell their products overseas and make a profit. So the whole world, including Americans, are buying foreign-made products. Will you in America buy a TV for $1,000 made in America if you can get it for $500 made in China? So it's not really free trade, it's a misnomer. The words say free trade, but it's not really free trade because people are cheating. So that's what's happened. The factories are packing up and moving to India and New Mexico, and many of them have gone to China. From what I understand, the factories sold out to Chinese interests, which actually moved the whole factory to China, the machines and everything, they moved them to China. Business people can no longer make a living in manufacturing in this country. And our government has refused to develop our natural resources, so we have become a debtor country. All the farms, I've watched around here in Long Island, all the farms shut down. We now buy food in the supermarket from countries all over the world. Why do I have to buy fruit from Mexico? Why aren't they growing the fruit here? See? So this is the NAFTA. It's a trade agreement that has opened up business between countries, supposedly without restriction, but whether you could understand what I told you or not, the result of the agreement is that millions of Americans have lost their jobs with no chance of getting them back because the source of the jobs are moving overseas. Now they're moving their factories to Mexico. They're making America brother, you cannot be great unless you are self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this agreement, NAFTA, is designed to make America dependent on other nations. And now there's another trade agreement in the wings, and I actually have taught about that, TPP, within the past year I taught about it. Mm-hmm. Will be much worse than NAFTA. So the bottom line is this. An international organization has risen up that is in the process of dominating the whole world through economic means. And this organization is called the European market. The European Union. It's called the European Union. And they have their base in Brussels. Now, I've known for years that there was a world court in Brussels, and I know that the UN is trying to start a world government. I've known that for years. I've just never really followed through on it. When I first heard that the UN was devising a tax on America, because we were the rich country and the other countries of the world weren't rich enough. There's something very sick going on in the world today, and the mind behind it is determined to destroy this country, and not only Christianity, but to destroy the whole country. Now, I've heard other things also. I heard that President Bush, who I campaigned for, I got rid of all of my memorabilia of him, that he signed, it's all trade agreements, signed a trade agreement or a treaty between America and Mexico and Canada to make us one region, and the agreement said we're going to have our own currency called an Immoral. They're going to get rid of the dollar. He signed the agreement without the American people knowing anything about it during his term. And I heard it, and it went in this year, and it went out that year. And for a long time, until very recently, I thought all of this was inevitable. And I think by and large the church thinks it's inevitable because they're waiting for the rapture. See, but today I know that it's not inevitable. And that the Lord Jesus Christ is coming to destroy the wicked powers behind this. Because it goes even beyond greedy businessmen. There are wicked, evil powers behind it, which I'll get to after I finish trying pitifully to explain the economic aspect of this to you. So, there's a world court. And I remember that, I think it was George Bush, I guess he was bad and good. Well, anyway, let me finish this. I just recently found out when I started to research this, I just understood this treaty with Mexico and Canada. There's a plan. There's an organization that has its plans all over the internet. They're doing everything that they're doing in plain sight. See? And I believe that the average person, just like me, you just think it's inevitable. So maybe you say a prayer about it, and then it's just so mind-boggling what's happening to us that you say, well, you say a prayer, and you don't even think about praying to try to bring it down. Well, there's an organization called Club Rome, okay? And there's so many organizations, and they're all attached to each other and interwoven with each other. Susan, would you put the air conditioner down one more point, please? They're all attached to each other and interwoven with each other. So I don't know where in the hierarchy Club Rome is, but it seems to be pretty high up. And all of these organizations, their plans are all over the internet. And their plan is to take over the whole world and get rid of all nationalism and reconfigure the world. And they have a world map. They want to reconfigure the world into 10 regions. No more nation states, but 10 regions without an identity. So they're trying to destroy, I've known for a long time they want to destroy nationalism. I've known that. It just went over my head, okay? They want to destroy all self-identity. Now what comes to mind is Nimrod and the Tower of Babel. They wanted to build a tower that they should make a name for themselves, an identity. So these powers and the people that work for them, they want to destroy all identity, national identity, individual identity. That's why there's no male or female. They don't want you using the words mother or father anymore. They're trying to reduce us literally to a non-human state. And they're doing it on the human level, and they're doing it on the national level. So this great plan, which is well underway, it's well underway to destroy nation states and national identity in the world. It comes from this Club Rome, and they want to divide the world up into 10 regions. And one of the regions is Mexico, North America, and Canada. Mm-hmm. So we see that President Bush, when he signed that treaty, and I'm not sure what the difference is between an agreement and a treaty, but I think it's called a treaty when it's between nations. When he signed that, he knew exactly what he was doing, and it proves that he's a part of this new world order. And every president, certainly since Bill Clinton, probably before that, I'm not sure about Reagan, were a part of this new world order, moving the nation under the new world order government without the will of the people. So free people in America, free people in Great Britain, and wherever else there's freedom in the world, where there is a movement to bring the whole free world under tyranny. And not only bring us under a dictator, but they want to make us, to wipe out all personal identification, all creativity. See, that's why I remember once I heard President Obama reply to somebody that couldn't get a job, and his answer was, so you'll go on welfare. I know that maybe within just the last few years it became very easy to get on disability. It used to be very hard to get on disability in this country. People would hire lawyers because the federal government would turn them down, wouldn't want to give them that benefit. They would hire a lawyer to defeat the decision. See? Now it's very easy to get on disability. It's very easy to get on welfare. The welfare rolls are soaring. We have become a welfare state. Why? What's going on? From a very high spiritual place, through their human hacks, many of which are in our government, they're destroying human initiative, human creativity, trying to make all people equal, teaching and knocking out competition in the schools. They want us to be slaves. Why do they want us to be slaves? I couldn't understand this. Well, if you work, you buy their products. They're multinational corporations. They want you to buy their products. Well, don't you have to work to buy their products? So, Brethren, I did not pursue this in any depth until last week. And to be honest with you, I just want to prepare you, if it's possible to prepare you, that the ultimate answer is terrible. And it's so terrible that I have this thing that the Lord keeps trying to break me of. I want to protect you by not telling you. So I said, I'm not going to tell them this. This is just horrible. And the Lord told me just sit waiting to start preaching today. He said he doesn't tell any of us. He doesn't give us truth to keep it to ourselves. So I will get to it eventually, what the Lord told me. I'm telling you now that there are powers beyond the people that are doing it. Some of these evil people, and they all seem to be resident in the European Union. Some of them may be alien. They're not aliens, they're from the earth, but they're another species. See? They're the reptilians that we've talked about. They're another species, they're not the human species. Okay? Some of them are reptilian with the human masks, and others, there's a whole, I don't know how many, but a group of humans who have sold all of humanity out to this other species because they've been promised immortality. And of course they're deceived and they will pay the price for it. And then there's the rest of humanity. So I'll go into that in more detail, but that is what is behind the European Union. Rather than every spiritual entity that wants to affect the earth, they have to take human form, because humanity is the superior species and the intelligent species on the earth. So they have to take human form to deal with the humans. And the body of the political body is the European Union. So they've lied. They're liars and deceivers, and they're tyrants. And their goal is to enslave humanity. So they've raised up in Brussels. I didn't know until I did this recent study that I knew there was a world court, and I knew that Bush would not sign on to it, meaning he would not make an agreement. There has to be a treaty that you submit American sovereignty to a foreign court, that they can now sue Americans. So President Bush wouldn't do that, and at the time I said, oh yeah, okay, he wouldn't do that. But that will happen if TPP is signed. Multinational business people will be able to sue Americans, American companies or American governments that say, we're not going to let your products in because it's not good for our people. Listen to this. The multinational company will be able to take you or that government to court saying, you are depriving me of making a living, so you must buy my... Is that not what they did with Obamacare? Mm-hmm. Is that not what they did with Obamacare? It's what they did with Obamacare. Obamacare must work, so therefore you must purchase it. Okay. And that's what's coming to this country big time. We'll lose virtually all sovereignty if the treaty is signed. See? And of course the president has to sign it and the Senate has to ratify it. But there are a lot of Republicans that are treasonous. The government is treasonous today. And there are many Republicans that are treasonous, that are willing to sign it. Paul Ryan was willing to sign it. He just recently said he's going to take another look at it. Are they treasonous, or are they really that deceived, or are they mind control? Whatever it is, they're enemies of the state. They're enemies of the nation. And they've got hold of our government on every level. Right now there's a big legal fight going on in Virginia. They're trying to pass legislation that would force parents to inoculate their children, and these inoculations are dangerous today. But that's not the point. If the parent doesn't want to inoculate the child, they should have the right to not inoculate the child. It's a tyrannical, tyranny is moving into government on every level to control the lives of people. And that is a reality, and most of us know that. So today I understand that there's a European Union Parliament. I didn't know that. When I did this research, I saw a picture of it. It's a big body like it. It's very similar to the UN. There are 28 nation states in the European Union. But there would seem to be a lot more than 28 people. There was a big auditorium with people sitting there with the headphones, with the translators, and that they actually have members of that. It's called a parliament, and they have members of that parliament. Now, if you go to Great Britain, if you're a member of Britain's parliament, you're an MP, a member of parliament. If you're a member of the European Union Parliament, you're an MEP, a member of the European Parliament. See? And so what's going on, to the best of my ability, my research was very limited. What's going on is that this organization is controlling situations in other countries. For example, I heard a couple of years ago that right here in Long Island, that there are armed with guns, okay, members. We have an organization, a branch of our government. I may not have the right name. It's a part of the. Isn't this terrible? I don't even know the name. But they control hunting and fishing and parks. Did anyone know the name of it? Yeah. It's a part of our federal government. They control hunting and fishing and the national parks and all of that. They now are armed. They carry guns. And there are rules that you can't fish right here on Long Island. If you catch more than so many fish, they will arrest you. People are in jail for catching an extra fish. I read somewhere a couple of years ago that some company that produces ice cream was shut down by an armed SWAT team from a government organization that's like the Food and Drug Administration. And, who ever heard of it? A part of our government like that having guns and arresting you. They would just stop you from manufacturing your product. So I knew that all of this was going on in the country, but I didn't understand it. And I did not understand that this restriction on fishing in our own waters and hunting, that it was being controlled from Brussels. Now, first of all, let me tell you this. America is not a part of the European Union. Okay? But we trade with the European Union. And we have had government officials, Bill Clinton and President Obama, that want us to have a nation that will be in agreement with the European Union. They want us to do the same things and trade the same way that the European Union is trading. So the big issue in the country today is globalism versus nationalism. And it's even more than saying, well, are you for a world government or a nation state? Well, if you don't take it any further than that, you say, well, world government, maybe it doesn't sound that bad, so we'll have a world government. What globalism means, what world government means, is that your nation, what happens in your nation does not put the best interest of the citizens of this nation first. It means that we have to yield to the best interests of nations that we have nothing in common with, that have a fraction of our standard of living. So then when you make things even, brethren, you take a nation where only 2% of the people are educated, you take a nation where 90% of the people are in poverty, and you put them up against America and say, now everything has to be equal, what do you think is going to happen to America? We have to go way down so the 90% of those people can come up. That's the plan. Mm-hmm. That's the plan. To destroy the prosperity of America and move manufacturing and everything that has caused us to be great to other nations. We have to come down. We have to have large numbers of people on welfare and disability and drugs. Doctors are putting you on drugs. A lot of the veterans, they come home and they're putting them on drugs right away. I heard a veteran speaking. He said many of the veterans are throwing the drugs away. If you don't take them, you get written up on your medical report that you're a belligerent, or whatever the right word is. So they're taking the drugs and throwing them away. I had a man come in here to fix my air conditioner. Very nice guy. It's like the second or third year he's been here. And the guy, I mean, he doesn't seem to be any kind of a weakling, just a very nice man, but he said to me that he's got his mother and his father both very sick in their 90s at the same time. And he was just having a lot of anxiety over taking care of them, and he was having a hard time with it. He said he went to the doctor, and the doctor wanted to put him on Prozac. Drugs, wanted to put him on drugs. Didn't say, well, till you get through this for a week, for a month. They put you on drugs, and you stay on drugs for the rest of your life. They're making the whole population, if they can do it, a bunch of drug addicts. They're literally trying to enslave us. Who? These powers that are manifesting themselves through the European Union, and it has trickled down into our own government. And where do you think the doctor got this from? The doctors are trained by the pharmaceutical companies. They're all a part of it. Big Pharma is one of the multinational corporations, or at least a part of one of the multinational corporations. It is a conspiracy, and it's a conspiracy against the people. So it's a conspiracy against Christian people, American and British and European people mostly, but people all over the world. Why? Because they're trying to steal our prosperity. But it's a conspiracy, and it's no good for any. It's not even good for the people of the nations where 90% of the people have no food. It's not good for them either, because they're going to be slaves also if these entities succeed. See? They don't care about bringing the lower nations up with the nations with the lowest standard of living. They don't care about them. They're just using that to destroy the powerful nations. And America is the most powerful one. So this whole issue of you can't fish, and you're restricted on your fishing, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, it's all coming down from the Environmental Protection Agency, which is a part of this whole structure that is in alignment with what the European Union are doing, what the European Union is doing, okay? They want to control all of the natural resources, and ultimately the plan is to control the world by controlling the food. If people are starving, they think they can control you. Now, whether when you hear this, it's absolutely essential that we become independent as a nation. It's absolutely essential that our government starts caring about the American people, okay, and starts to resist these forces that would enslave us. We need to start growing our own food again. We need to start manufacturing our own products again. And we need to start digging and drilling for our own oil again. It is essential that we overcome this creeping spiritual leprosy and political leprosy that is destroying the American economy and everything. It's destroying America and the people. I would say 9 out of 10 people don't have a clue. The people are on drugs, they're mind controlled, they're dumbed down from the garbage on the TV. They believe the news, which is utterly corrupt. Rather than there's been a coup in this country, we've been taken over. Okay. But the exciting part is that the Lord is fighting for us. But that's not this message. So what is Brexit? Okay. Brexit was an uprising of the British people saying we don't want to be a part of the European Union anymore. The European Union, which is literally charging through Europe and their influence in America, although the influence in America, the power they have over America, is all of the people that are making money off of these ungodly treaties. The people in America, they're called special interest groups that are pressuring our legislators, making them very rich, and they're selling the country down the river. So that's how the European Union is influencing America, although they don't have any legal authority over us, but we trade with them through this NAFTA. And I understand that TPP has already started to be, they're acting on it, they're following they're trading in accordance with it, but it has not become the law of the land yet because the Senate has not approved the treaty, which means it would be very easy to stop it if we get the right person in the presidency. So we're being denied access to our own national assets. It now belongs, because our legislators have handed us over to the world organization, so to speak, through treaties. Our own property, our own resources don't belong to us anymore. And that's why there's this tremendous loss of jobs, and we're being lied to every day. To be told that the unemployment is 5% is just nothing less than a lie. As soon as someone stops looking for a job, and they go on welfare, they go on disability, they're no longer included in the calculation that determines the percentage of unemployment. So I'm told that the real unemployment is about 25%, which is very, very bad, brother. So Brexit, okay? So the people in Britain, you know, Britain and America, we have that same spirit of God in us. We have that same history of faithfulness to God. You know, Britain was the only nation that Rome couldn't defeat. I just found that out too. Britain was the only nation that Rome, when the Roman Empire was at its heyday, was the only nation that Rome could not defeat. Great Britain has a tremendous history of a love of freedom and a willingness to fight for it. Well, the people have risen up and said, we don't want to be in the European Union anymore. And of course, I think the major thing that has driven them to it, although they're having the same problems that we're having here, is this immigration, this open immigration that is literally, this is what Sennacherib, the Assyrian king, did during Bible days. He took the Israelites out of their land and he put other nations in their place, and he completely destroyed Israel. Not Judah, but Israel. The king of Assyria did that. So they're flooding us with immigrants that don't share our culture. They're flooding us with immigrants from other nations and other cultures that do not want to assimilate. They want to reestablish their culture, the culture that they're coming from, here. And they're destroying the national identity. So I think a lot of people are very concerned about that. And it doesn't mean that you're anti-immigrant or that you're against the people that are coming in, but we are concerned about having the country destroyed, about having our national identity changed. These people are coming in, they're trying to bring Sharia law here. They want to change our nation to where they came from. And we're being flooded with them. And these people have a lot of children. In 50 years, there won't be hardly any Americans left, but the Lord's going to do something about it. So I heard a spokesperson, I'm not sure who he was, for the American Union the other day. I heard him speaking. Because there's this big issue now. Great Britain had this referendum, and the British people chose to leave the European Union. But it was not a landslide vote, no. A lot of them wanted to stay, and all of Scotland itself wanted to stay with Europe. And I heard the representative from Scotland speaking. He was like begging the people of the European Union to not punish Scotland, because listen, the European Union is going to punish Britain for this. What does that mean? Excuse me. They're not going to trade with them. People will be, whether there are many problems, people will lose jobs. There are many, see right now there's open borders, you can go anywhere in Europe without a passport. There are a lot of non-British working in Britain. Are they going to be forced out? Trade degrees, trade terms, and the terms of entering into other countries have to be renegotiated. New laws have to be elected. If you can't come into Britain freely anymore because you're not in the European Union, well, you're not British. You can't. Can you stay? Can you not stay? Do you have to leave? It's going to be a big upheaval. Okay, British people working in other countries, other nationals working in Britain. There has to be a renegotiation of the terms of doing business between Great Britain and the other European Union countries. See? So the Member of Parliament from Scotland, he was like almost hysterical, begging the European Union. I could just see him genuflecting before the king, you know. In other words, let me try and make this clearer to you. There were going to be consequences, negative consequences for Britain pulling out of the European Union. There was going to be economic loss, although hopefully only temporary. There were going to be economic consequences, and the British have stood up and said, we don't care about the economic consequences. We are tired of this European Union tyranny, because the European Union is not a democratic organization. And a few years ago, they tried to make it a political organization. They came up with a constitution, okay, which gave no freedom to the people at all. It was absolutely a tyrannical constitution, giving the leadership to Germany and France. And it was voted against. It was voted down by the member states. Okay. So this is a tyrannical organization that wants to rule the whole world. So the British people rose up and said, we don't want you. We know there will be economic consequences, and we're willing to suffer the loss. We will recover. We want out. That's what Britain just said. 3 cheers to Britain. God bless them. The true British, the true British guts rose up and said, "You cannot enslave us. Roman Catholicism couldn't enslave us. Catholicism couldn't enslave us. Rome couldn't enslave us. And you, the European Union, you cannot enslave us." And they stood up and threw off the yoke. And that's what's just happened. Hallelujah. Amen. Yeah. So there are going to be consequences, and now Great Britain is Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, and England. I've just heard them say the 3 of them, though, so I don't know where Wales fits in. Maybe it's a part of one of the other 3. So the Scottish member of Parliament was genuflecting, was like begging the European Union to not punish them economically, because Scotland voted like 60-something to 30-something to stay in the European Union. But the votes from across all of Great Britain were to leave, but Scotland wanted to stay. Now, Scotland has a problem with England, I think that, well, England leads the Union, so Scotland has a problem with England. They've had 2 referendums in the last 10 years to try to leave the Great Britain. Scotland wanted to leave that union of being a part of Great Britain. And they couldn't win. The majority of the people wanted to stay as a part of Great Britain. But there's great hostility towards Britain. It strikes me as similar, at least in my uneducated mind, that when I heard that Ireland was not involved in World War II, it just really surprised me. That England, that was being decimated, was in World War II, and Ireland, right there, a part of Great Britain, wasn't in the war. Well, Ireland has a lot of angst against England. Ireland has been at war with England. Well, I think it's settled down now. But there was the Irish Republican Army. They were at war with England for years. They had British troops putting down the rebellion, refusing to let Ireland depart from that Great Britain. I don't know what they call it. Do they call it a union? I'm not sure what they call it. So that's how it struck me that Scotland has a great deal of angst against England. And so they're on the European side, they're not on the British side. Which really I think is very sad, because Scotland is a Protestant country. But anyway, it's just my side thought. So is this going to break Great Britain apart? You know? And there are people in Scotland calling for another referendum. Well, they're calling for a referendum to leave England again, to leave that union of Britain, England, Scotland, and Ireland. So the whole world is up in arms, because this is a big deal that Britain has pulled out. See? It's going to affect the whole every nation that's affected by the European Union is going to affect them economically, because treaties will have to be renegotiated. And now the European Union has already said English will no longer be the language that connects everybody. It will not be the official language of the European Union. So what languages they're going to be? It's going to be German, brother. So a lot of people are saying that Germany has accomplished Hitler's goals. Hitler's goal was to dominate Europe and the world, and that's what they're doing. And a lot of people say that there's a lot of Third Reich people there in the European Union, but that's another story. But that would be my guess, that German is going to be the official language. And that was the official language, that was the official business language of the world before World War II. Everyone had to speak German. Just like today you have to speak English to do any kind of business. It's all about control, brethren. There are powers fighting over the world, fighting over control of the world and control of the people in the world. And our President Obama and Mrs. Clinton went over to Europe before the vote and threatened, our President threatened the British that if you pull out of the European Union, you'll be at the end of the line when America does business with you. This is the President who, when he was elected, went over to Egypt and apologized for America, saying we have no right meddling in other people's business. He threatened the British that we would not do business with them if they pulled out of the Union. And some people are saying that he got many British so angry that that's why they won the referendum to leave. What a nerve, you see. So our president is fully involved on the side of the European Union. He went to, when he was first elected, he went to Germany and announced that he was a citizen of the world. He has definitely not governed in America's best interest. Any honest person would have to say that. And if you wonder why, here's a possible answer. He is involved and believes in and is moving and is using his office to accomplish one world government, which is one world domination. It's not a one world free government. They're forcing the peoples of the world into it. But what's positive is that when British broke free, when Britain broke free, there are nation states all over Europe rising up and saying, we want a referendum, we want out also. And I just saw when I was getting these exhibits ready for you, if you want some information, I saw a link that referendum, that cry for referendum has risen up in Germany. And of course Merkel is really, she's really responsible for a lot of what's going on. It's really Germany moving this whole thing. It's going through Germany. It's the Fourth Reich. But what else can I tell you about this current situation? Either America rises up and decides to be a nation state, or we go along with the globalists, which will be the destruction of America, and we'll become a slave state. Is there anything else I can tell you? Does anybody have a question for me while I try and think if there's anything else I can tell you about it? It's very exciting. I want to give you the right impression. It's very exciting what happened. It's like you have a woven garment, and Great Britain has broken one of the threads, made this thing unravel, made this whole wicked thing unravel. This is very evil thing. And there are people like in countries like Greece, in countries where fishing has been the major source of earning and income for centuries. They can't fish anymore because now the waters are owned internationally. Yeah, it's very sick. See. So, did you have a question? Is that what it is? So, there have been quite a few countries that are now calling for a referendum. If the people agree, they can get out. See. Now, Donald Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee for president this year, in this coming election, the election this year, he has promised to not sign the TPP and to renegotiate NAFTA, and he has promised that if the nation states or the members of NAFTA that are a part of this treaty, this trade treaty, if they will not reach a deal that President Trump, if he is president, if they will not reach a deal that is satisfying to him, that it will benefit American workers and not destroy the American middle class, he said he will pull out of NAFTA. He will. There is an opt-out clause in the agreement. He will pull out of NAFTA. Okay. So the problem, as I see it, is so many Americans, they don't even understand what the issues are, and they're so prejudiced against him because they're so mind-controlled by the media and by their schools and the things that they're saying that they believe about him, that true or not true, I can't swear to you what this man is going to do if he's elected, but I know that I've listened to every speech that he's made, and he's never said one word that would justify what's being said about him. The people are just mind-controlled and dumbed down, and if God doesn't help us, we're going to be destroyed. But God is going to help us, and I see this breaking away of Britain from the European Union, and the fruit of it. Okay, all of these nations rising up. I'm sorry that I don't have a list for you, except Germany recently. France wanted a referendum. I think Holland wanted a referendum. In other words, a vote for the people. Do you want to leave this union? The people are not happy with it. It's only good for these multinational corporations. And what's happening is that international wealth, the world wealth, is being condensed into the hands of a few people. So there are a few people that are becoming multi-trillionaires, and the middle class is getting poorer and poorer and poorer. And that's very dangerous, because when that happens, when wealth is condensed into one or two hands, they enslave the rest of the people, and which is exactly what's happening. So, but it's very positive. It's a grassroots movement away from tyranny for freedom, and I mean, it's going to take a miracle, because these evil people have taken over they've taken over a large percentage of the mass media. People don't look beyond the MSNBC. And now I'm told, I knew that Obama was giving the internet away, because right now America has control over the internet. But I didn't know who he was giving it to, and now I hear he's giving it over to the UN. And the UN is Luciferian. They're behind this whole thing, so they're going to try and shut down free speech on the internet. But you have to trust in God, and I just want to leave you with this word. It's very positive. Britain's exit is very positive. My prayers and my heart goes towards them, that they should succeed and that they should stand very tall with any hardship that they might have to face for a few years until they become independent again. And my heart and prayers are for this country, that we should elect a nationalist president who will start to establish our own independence, so to whatever degree, until the Lord destroys these wicked people, to whatever degree they can control the world through hunger or any other commodity like that, we at least will be independent. And I believe that the Lord will sustain us, and that they will be destroyed. I just don't, it just seems so overwhelming. I feel like the spies must have felt like when they went into the land and they saw the giants. It just seems so impossible. And up until about 6 months ago, I really thought it was inevitable. I'm so grateful to God for showing me that the success of these internationalists or multinationalists is not inevitable. It gave me hope. And the whole church is without hope. They're waiting for they're going to abandon the whole world and run away in a rapture, which of course is not going to happen. But I know that the Lord has instructed me, and I'm doing the best that I can to follow His instructions. I don't listen to any programs where they're taking my hope away. See? And this is not the same thing as being in denial or not wanting to listen to the other side. I'm always willing to listen to the other side, but I'm not listening to people that what they have to say comes from an evil heart that's going to discourage me or make me afraid. I cannot be afraid. See? So I've listened to almost just about every speech that Mr. Trump has made. He's very encouraging, and the whole country's following after him, because it's beyond education, brethren. It's spiritual. It's heart to heart. They know that the man is sincere. And that, and I was so happy today because I told you I love Michael Savage. I love Michael Savage, but he's neurotic, you know. And he gets all carried away, and sometimes he goes too far. And he was saying the other day that Trump has gone to the left. He's moved to the left. He said, I knew it as soon as the Republican Party, as soon as he made his peace with the Republican Party, he was going to move to the left, and he's not going to build the wall anymore. And well, yesterday Mr. Trump said he's going to build the wall, and I believe him. And Michael, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. You've done a lot of good, and you need to stop being negative like that, okay? And give the guy a chance, okay? And he's going to do great things because God is with him. So anyway. So this is what the Lord told me. That was so... Does anybody have any questions? That's the best I could do about the current situation. I'm anything but an expert. I'm a total novice on these issues. But I'm really glad that I found out what I found out, and that I'm sharing with you. But this is what the Lord told me that is just horrible. I tell you all the time, you have to ask questions. If you want the information, you have to ask questions. Excuse me. And I had said to the Lord, what is it with these people, you know, that they have to enslave everybody? Can't they be multi-billionaires? Can't they? And just let us have a little piece of freedom? Why do they have to enslave us? And it was almost a rhetorical question that I really wasn't saying, Lord, I want an answer. You know, it was just as I thought it through, that was the question that came. What is wrong with these people that they have to destroy our creativity and our desire to produce and take our national identity? And what is wrong with them? And I'm thinking of them in terms of being human beings, you know. And this is what the Lord told me, so get ready, okay? These wicked people and wicked things, they tell you everything they're going to do, but nobody believes it. And they told us in the Matrix what their plan is, okay? They told us in the Matrix they want, and also, you may have heard that part of this plan is that they want to move all people out of the suburbs. They want everybody into the city in very small living quarters, all crunched together in cities, and they're buying up, the federal government is buying up large parcels of state-owned land and making it off limits to people, you know. What are they buying up all the land for? You know, this I knew years ago. All these questions go in my database. What are they buying up all the land for? Okay. Well, the Lord told me, brethren, well, let me tell you something else first. You all know about CERN. We did a message on CERN, this particle collider that they're trying to open doors into other dimensions. We know that the Catholic Church owns a telescope that's focused on outer space, like they're waiting for something from outer space. They're trying to bring in entities from another dimension. Are they coming from outer space? Are they coming from another dimension? Maybe both. I don't know. There is another race, and they're not aliens, but they're another race. And they are the reptilians. That's my best understanding right now is what I've taught you. That at some high place before the flood, the creation turned evil. And they materialized on the other side of the flood as reptilians. So they were reptilians and they were humans. And when the scripture says the sons of God looked on the daughters of men and found them fair and married them, the sons of God, there were two kinds of sons of God. I even found it in the Zohar. There were two kinds of sons of God, good and evil. We're all sons of God. So they were the reptilian races, and there's more than one race. There are many different kinds of reptilian races, and they were marrying the humans. They want to marry the humans. Why do they want to marry the humans? This is what I've already taught you. They have no means of reproduction, and they have no means of existence. They have no means of enduring existence in this world without a human vessel. We are the earthen vessels. We are the earthen vessels that can reproduce themselves. Now, I also told you recently that there was a movie, that Ascending movie, what's the name of that movie? Jupiter Ascending or something like that.
Okay, so yeah.
Jupiter Ascending. Where that movie claimed that there were beings that were living for thousands of years, and I had said to the Lord, and I take it seriously what I hear in the movies, because the children of darkness are brighter, are smarter than the children of light. It's very possible they have information that I don't have. So I said, Lord, how could that be? How could that be true? That there are beings that live for thousands of years, when in the scripture nobody even made it to 1,000 years. So the Lord answered me and he said, Sheila, the reptilians live for thousands of years. No human has made it 2,000 years since the fall. No human has made it to 1,000 years since the fall, but the reptilians live for thousands of years. And the reptilians that have been able to possess humans, and I think that there are reptilians that are walking behind human masks today. Their vessels die. They can't keep them alive. That's why we hear all about this abduction and experiments on human reproduction. They need human vessels to live in permanently in this world, and apparently living in this world is desirable for them. They're more so than where they are now. And my only understanding of that is that they need a human vessel to have experiences here, but I'm sure there's more to it than that. I just don't have all the answers. So they need human vessels to dwell in this world, and they need human vessels to reproduce themselves. And they want to integrate with humans, and that's how they will live forever. The Lord Jesus wants to integrate with us, and then we will live forever. The reptilians want to integrate with us, so that we will live forever in eternal torment, being their vessels. That will be true eternal hell. So they're the ones that are behind this. This illegal species that the Lord Jesus Christ is going to destroy. I read the Bible and it said he's going to destroy them. Read the Bible. You can deal with your fear. Believe God. He's going to destroy them. That's what he said. And he's going to do it. He's going to destroy them. I believe him. There's one psalm I read recently. It said 3 times, 3 verses, one after the other. He will destroy them. He will destroy them. He will destroy them. He will destroy them. So there are these reptilians, multiple species of reptilians. They exist, and their mind, that collective mind, is influencing human existence here. And then there are these humans, well, I'll say it in 3 ways. There are disembodied, let me not say disembodied. There are reptilians that are not in the earth. They're influencing us through another dimension. Then there are reptilians that are in the earth, and they're dwelling inside of humans with their permission, just like Christ Jesus dwells inside of me. They're dwelling inside of humans, and they've made those humans very rich and powerful. And those humans have become very evil. And then there are humans that the reptilians are not dwelling in, but they have been literally bribed and bought off. And they've been lied to. They've been told that they're going to become gods. And I heard one of them on TV. I heard one of them, he was being interviewed on TV. All of this stuff went in my head and out of my head, and I never put it all together until now. I said, oh, the guy thinks he's going to be a god. Okay, so he thinks he's going to be a god. These entities are promising them immortality, and they've sold out the whole human race. And the guy that I heard on TV, he was very arrogant, because he knows groups like Christians are against what they're doing. What are they doing? They're creating chimeras. They're playing with human reproduction. They're crossbreeding humans and animals. What are they doing? What is all this for? Have you asked yourself what all this is for? They're trying to find a vessel that will not die when the reptilian enters into it. Most people would die. You die from the presence of that entity inside of you. We can't tolerate it. They're trying to create a race that can tolerate it. Can tolerate this possession. That's what it's all about. So then we have the humans that are not possessed, but they've sold out because they believe they're going to be made gods. They're just unethical, immoral, selfish people. They've sold out the rest of humanity for money and their own promises of glory or whatever else they're promising them. And they want to put all the people in small areas, and small areas crunch us into the cities and have great tracts of open land, because the plan is for this other species and all of this other race and all of the species of that race, if I'm saying it correctly, there are different kinds of reptilians. When they pierce into this realm, whether they're coming from another planet, which I don't believe they are, they're coming from another dimension. When they come into this world, they're going to be living in these great expanses of land. They want all the humans in a ghetto, so to speak. They want the humans in ghettos, and these reptilians, when they enter openly into our world, they will be occupying all of these great tracts of land. And we, humanity, according to their plan, not according to Jesus' plan, these ghettos that we're in will become brothels. And just like they showed you in the Matrix they made it tolerable. Well, everybody was, I don't know whether it's tolerable or not, but it's not as bad as what the Lord told me. That everybody, that Neo was in a power plant, and the machine came and took energy from him. Well, all humans will be in brothels, and they will come and have sex with whoever they want to have sex with. You know. And they will do their best to impregnate the women to bear their children. All humans will be in a brothel. In brothels all over the world, and they'll just come whenever they want. And everybody will be drugged up on drugs, all creativity gone, depressed on drugs. That's what I have no personal experience with a brothel, but from what I've seen in movies and read elsewhere, they keep them all drugged up. They have them on heroin. So the people will be all drugged up, barely kept alive with enough food, just needing to control them. See? And these reptilians will come in and use them at will. And that's the plan. And the Lord is going to destroy them. That's the plan. So it's pretty horrible. But the positive thing that I can tell you is that what it did to me, hearing this truth, what it did to me, was it got me angry. It brought forth a righteous anger in me that I prayed some prayers that I've never prayed before. In other words, I myself, I realize, have been dumbed down. Well, this is happening and that is happening. I've never felt angry enough in a righteous anger to say, you won't get away with that. David never rose up in me, Well, you're taking away the fishing rights and you're doing that. And David never rose up in me and said, well, who are you to do that? Never touched me. But this touched me. When the Lord told me this, David rose up in me. And your prayers, you need that righteous anger to raise up in you to pray a prayer that's going to affect the world. I said, the Lord said he's going to do so. I prayed some heavy prayers, how I prayed. I prayed privately. But a righteous anger rose up in me. He said, that's it, there's no way you're going to do that. Who are you? Who are you to lay hold of God's creation? Who are you to lay hold of God's creation? Who are you to take over the world? Who are you? You're the corrupt race. You are the ones that are going to die. You are not God's creation. And the Lord Jesus Christ will destroy you. So, I understand. I probably prayed more strongly than that, too. I needed to hear this horrible, horrible truth for the righteous anger to rise up, for the indignation to rise up in me. So I pray that that's the effect that it has on you, because I didn't want to tell you this. But the Lord told me I had to tell you. And I pray that that's your reaction to it, that David should rise up in you. That you do not yield to fear. Do not yield to fear. But that David should rise up in you, that you should become a vessel for the Lord to pray powerful prayers through. See? So this is what we're up against. And the exciting part is that the Lord has turned the tide. And the signs are Donald Trump in America and what's happening in Great Britain. And all the other nations that now want a referendum. So the tide is turning. But I've revealed to you the evil behind the whole movement. And it's very evil. So it is now as it was in the days before the flood. See? So all the people that say, well, what did Jesus mean when he said, well, as it was in the days of Noah, you know? Oh, well, it means homosexuality, it means this, it means that. It's much worse than that. You know? Now has been revealed to you the foundational problem. All of those things are true. Homosexuality was there, this was there, people were wicked, this, before the Lord destroyed Sodom. It was not just homosexuality, people were evil, people were cruel, people were mean. You know? It's even more than that. It's more than that. The bottom line is another species that wants to make prostitutes out of humanity and lock them up in ghettos and use them at will. That's the truth of the whole thing. I said to the Lord, I feel like I'm inside of a movie. I feel like I'm living in a science fiction movie. And part of me just wants to run, but there's no place to run to. See? So your salvation is to believe Jesus. See? He is coming in a power that is not here yet, you see. And he is going to destroy them. And the reason it's taken all of this time, thousands of years, to destroy them is that the way God has decided to destroy them is that he has decided to make humanity strong enough to destroy them. Jehovah has decided not to just throw a lightning bolt down from heaven on this illegal race of beings that he never brought into existence. Sophia brought them into existence. He has decided to destroy them through the very people that they are planning this evil plan for. So we have to become strong enough to destroy them. And we become strong enough to destroy them through Jesus Christ. That's the plan. And it's taken all of these thousands of years. And in the meantime, the Lord tries to protect us. He raises up the church falls down. He raised up Britain, he raised up America. No matter what he does for us, we fall down because the power that's afflicting us is really too strong for us. But all of this was just biding time until the master plan could be set in place. And the master plan is Christ Jesus joined to the Lord Jesus Christ in you, making you stronger than the giants. And these are spiritual giants. What is going to happen when they pierce through? And I think it's going to happen. I think that it's going to get as bad as it can get before the Lord destroys them. It's going to be, the point is, it's going to be Christ Jesus in you destroying them. And the few people that succeed in attaining to that spiritual height, it's going to be Christ Jesus joined to the Lord Jesus and them destroying these giants. And I think before that happens, they will appear. I think they will appear in this world. Will they be giants? I don't know, but they'll be demons. I know that. They're already here, they're just not appearing openly. And that really has to happen because there are so many people that are mind-controlled that would fight against the people trying to save them. The whole country or the whole world, whoever's involved here, are they just coming to America? I don't know. Are they coming in other nations? I don't know. But the warfare, but Christ Jesus is rising up in America. Collectively, he's rising in America. Maybe he's going to rise up in you in another nation, and you'll be spiritually involved. I don't know. I'm just telling you the little bit that I know right now. So he's going to destroy them through humans that he is king in. See? Is that not a just defeat? When the Allies liberated the death camps in Germany, they released the people and let the people kill the guards. Is that not a just defeat? Is that not a righteous judgment? That God should make a plan, a way to strengthen humanity, the victims, and that the victims should go and destroy the tyrants? Does that not sound like a righteous judgment to you? That's how it's going to be done. Is there going to be any face-to-face confrontation? I have no idea. But I trust God. I trust His Word. I don't just trust Jesus spiritually. I trust that Word. You've got to read that Word. See? You have to read the warfare in the Word. I trust the Word. And I believe Him. And I will not let anybody make me afraid. And I will not listen to anyone that is saying anything that is designed to make me afraid. Any ungodly spirit on the person designed to make me afraid. Okay, so I've told you, brethren, and now you're responsible for what you've heard. Are you raising your hand? Did you have a question? No. So that's the story. It's pretty ugly, isn't it? But you see, this truth was here all along. We didn't know it. You didn't hear it before, and the people didn't know about it. And the truth of the matter is that we're at the ends of the ages, and for all the people that have suffered for thousands of years with poverty and sickness and disease and war, that all of that is coming to an end. And the kingdom of God is coming. There's going to be one great battle. Okay? And the victims will be made stronger than the tyrants. They will defeat the tyrants. And then the kingdom of God is coming. So probably all of these Muslims will be converted. Either they'll be converted or they'll die. And not just Muslims, anybody that's in. There are Christians that are antichrist. There will be peace in all of God's holy mountain. That's what's coming after the big war. So it's really a very exciting day to be alive. But if you go down into fear, when you descend into fear, oh well, I just thought of something, then the Christ can't rise in you. I mentioned to a few people recently that it was my opinion that there's another step down of the moral fall that's happening primarily in America and in Europe today, but Britain stands out in Europe. Britain is the nation that God seems to have a history of revealing Himself through Britain and America. Of course, we're morally corrupted. The women are fallen, and homosexuality is lying like a rug, like a spiritual rug over the two nations. And it's based upon the fact that in the Scripture, bestiality seems to be the next degree of fall after homosexuality, according to the Scripture, as I understand it. I've been of the opinion that there is going to be another major step downward in the moral corruption of the world, and primarily America and Britain, and that step downward would be into bestiality. I also, does anyone understand what I'm saying? This whole acceptance of homosexuality and transgenderism, it's a major step downward. It's a step downward beyond fornication and adultery. There's going to be another major step downward. So how, in other words, a major change in the population that will be as visible as this homosexuality is. How will bestiality manifest? Does it mean that people are going to all be having sex with animals? I didn't think so. I thought that it meant something more than that. That this next major step downward will be perhaps a degree of cruelty, but I didn't really know what it was, and I think I just have the answer now. This next major step downward, called bestiality, will be the appearance of these other species. I have to get it straight. I know, is it a race with multiple species? Maybe someone listening to maybe Margaret knows the answer to this. Is it a race with multiple species underneath it? In other words, what are the subdivisions under reptilians, the different reptilian, or is it different reptilian races or different one race and different reptilian species, you know? When they appear, that's the bestiality, that's the beast. Okay? When they appear openly and we see humans cohabiting with them, and humans are being set up for that. Does anyone know the name of that series of books? Was it Twilight that they're showing all the teenage girls? Is it Twilight? All the teenage girls reading these Twilight books, how they're having affairs with vampires and demons and everything like that. So there are going to be a lot of humans that will be engaging in relationships with these other species when they appear on the earth, and that's the next step downward. So we will see that before the Lord destroys them all. You know, brethren, as I'm upset just telling you that, and I already heard it, you know. What this truth prepares you, because to see something like that could be so shocking that people could have heart attacks and die. To wake up one morning and turn on the TV or walk out your door and see reptilians walking down the street, you know, could give you a heart attack, and so you'd be so afraid you could die. And then to see young girls, I don't know what will happen with the boys, because they brought the, well, let me finish my thought first. To see beautiful young women having sex with these monsters, okay? It can be so shocking that people could just either go mad or have heart attacks and die. But when you know the truth before it happens, and that's what the Lord says, so it's really a great honor that He's telling you this, because I never do anything without telling my people. And He's going to destroy them, so you have to know what the Lord's going to destroy. See? So having this knowledge will prepare you to not lose your mind, or to not go into terror, or to not have a heart attack and die. When you see it, you just know that that God told you it was coming. And also, that I heard on the news very recently. Where did I see it? I saw a video. I don't know where I saw this video. I haven't been to a movie lately. I saw it was like a documentary. Maybe I saw it on a news program on Fox News, where some of these corporations, they're building robots. Robots are a big thing today. So I talked to somebody about it. Did I talk to you about the robot? I talked to somebody about the robot. They showed this robot that business was making, and there was a man testing the robot. And they showed you the robot was walking and it was picking up big boxes and putting it on the shelves. And the man who was working for the company that was making it, he came behind the robot with a big stick, and he hit it. He hit the robot. The whole point was to show that the robot was indestructible, you know. And the robot just recovered, got up and went back to loading the shelves. And then at one point, he hit it from behind and he knocked it down. This machine, this tall machine, knocked it over fully on its face. You'd say, well, that machine will never rectify itself. If you knock a machine down, it can't stand up. That robot just went, and it just got back up on its feet and started loading the shelves. Okay? Now, whoever I was talking to, whoever I had this conversation with, I don't know who it could be. Was it you?
I saw it. I saw the whole thing you're saying. I saw it. I don't know where I saw it, Sheila. I thought it was here.
I don't know where I saw it. So someone said to me, whoever I was talking to, if you're listening to me, identify yourself. They said, I think they said that they felt bad for the robot or something like that, you know. And I said, well, that wasn't my reaction. I said, my reaction was, this is terrifying that thing can't be stopped. That was my reaction. Well, it can't be stopped. And then it was shortly after that, again, I watch all these news programs, I read that these robots are being trained to kill, and that there are people that are going before the UN right now asking the UN, maybe it's happening, I don't know whether they're doing it in America or overseas, but for whatever reason they went to the UN asking the UN to stop it and to make it illegal, because in another year or so, they're going to be killer robots, and they're going to be released they're going to have killer robots. So I guess they're telling you that they're going to be in the army and they're going to fight wars, but that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they're going to send them after the people. Look, they want to take our guns away. They want to control us completely. Can you imagine they send a killer robot after you? Your guns won't even do you any good. You won't be able to stop it. And then again, I thought about the Matrix, okay? That was exactly what they showed in the Matrix, only they were fish robots. And they were in their, the heroes were in their ship, and they were attacked by these fish robots. And there was nothing you could do to stop them. Killer robots, they're on them, they're being manufactured right now. Killer robots. And of course, I don't think the UN is going to stop it. And I would really like to know who I had this conversation with. Maybe it was Brooke. I mean, it had to be somebody here, so that just leaves Brooke. Maybe it was Brooke. Although I don't think it was Brooke. So anyway, so they're really getting ready to herd us into ghettos, which will be brothels, and to take over the planet. Okay? And that's the reason they only want 500 million of us. They want to weed out the population and bring it down to 500 million. Because they figure, and I've also asked that question, why don't they just kill us all? If they really hate humanity and they're not going to need us anymore because they're going to have robots, why don't they just kill everyone? Because they need us. And they want us in their brothels, and they need us to reproduce and produce human vessels for them to indwell. So they'll keep us in line with these killer robots that you can't stop. Everything's in place. It's like they have all of these pieces in place, and they're just waiting for the signal for the whole thing to come together. And the signal is, or the signal will be, that these beings succeed in piercing through into this dimension. So, it's the great and terrible day of the Lord, brethren. It's the great and terrible day of the Lord. And you have heard the secret. So, be strong in the power of his might. No comments. Everybody's slain in the spirit, or just don't be terrified. Resist being terrified. That's all I have to say. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. He's going to destroy them.